I'm going to go hot on the audio now.
For viewers to see stream chat published.
Yeah, do that.
Okay, we're going to publish.
Okay, it'll be fine then. Just
Where people watching.
well, I know because it's not publishing on my YouTube page. It doesn't work like that. It posts like afterwards, I think. But at least I would rather it be live. But at least you don't lose any content, and it goes live if the Ethernet's not plugged in, which is really odd. But if the Ethernet cables, ever since I've been plugging the Ethernet cable in, it doesn't go live until afterwards. Yeah, I know, and I don't understand that, but I guess that's just a Mevo thing. Yeah, I don't know why, especially since the Ethernet thing's in there. I don't know if there's something I got to change in the setting, but anyway.
It does say tap publish. I don't know where that is.
I don't know, look around. Fuck it. All right, well, I'm about to go hot on the audio.
Change live streaming settings while you're in live streaming progress. So I can't do nothing.
Well, we'll figure it out next time. All right. We're going hot on the audio in 3, 2. All right, ladies and gentle ducks. Brother Jasen Summers in the house.
Howdy, howdy.
Howdy, Jason. We were discussing something interesting at Nacho Hippo last night during the gig and decided that it was meriting a recording session today. So, we were talking about the great land of OHIO and what the fuck they're going to be doing over the next couple of days. What do you think, Brother Jason?
Well, it's obvious that Urban Meyer he knew about allegations back in 2015 and what have you. This is a repeat offender for this Mr. Or should we say, Coach Smith.
Yes.
Happened to him back when he was with Meyer back
In
at Florida. Meyer addressed the situation and supposedly addressed the situation. And I guess no punishment was taken there for him at the University of Florida. And then he comes along and tags along with Meyer at Ohio State. And evidently, allegations in 2015. And here we are again in 2018, I believe. Allegations again, and Urban Meyer finally, I guess, gets the kahunas, or somebody else got him, and told him it's time to part ways with the wide receiver coach.
So, to catch everybody else up on what's going on, a wide receiver coach for Ohio State has been, is he charged?
Has not. Well, from what I understand, his ex-wife had to put a restraining order against him because of it.
For domestic violence, and he's obviously beating up on his woman. And for those of you who do not know what domestic violence is, Adam. Anyway, so if you don't know what we're talking about, basically, if you're familiar with the Joe Pa situation, in which obviously domestic violence is horrible, but not anything involving children. So that being said, Joe Pa was literally fired almost a couple of days after he found out that he knew about something going on, and this situation feels very similar to that to me, and I'm wondering, it's only a matter of time, because if there is proof, and apparently there is proof through text messages that Urban Meyer knew about this, like you said, he knew about these allegations in 2015, and even as far back as Florida possibly, and if that's the case, then he's got to go.
Absolutely right. Me as a fan, as a male, just being a male, period.
A male fan?
I have no tolerance for, any type of, domestic violence.
Yeah. Same here.
I don't care who you are. So to me, just take a look and then trust me, they had the whole video for Ray Rice on. They had that on video.
Yeah.
And let me tell you what, he beat the snot out of that girl. He did what he did. Suspended by the NFL for a year. They reinstate him. Where's he at now?
True story.
So
nobody wants him.
Right. So here you are. I mean, you're you as a college coach, you got these guys, that are looking up to you as a coach trying to get to the next level. And, you give this guy 3 chances and you still keep him around at Ohio State. I mean, Jim Tressel, he got, suspended for 5 games without pay?
Yeah, something like that.
Because his boys were selling their memorabilia to a tattoo shop, I guess just to try to, make a little money or whatever. And here you are, you got a guy who's trying to cover up for one of his assistant coaches who's a wide receiver coach, which I'm pretty sure I could go out and coach the wide receivers for him if they need me to. I mean,
you waiting for the call.
I'm just waiting for it.
That's all there is.
And here you are, you got a guy who has been charged, had the cops called on him, who's completely denying everything. And I forget the guy who broke the story, Brett McMurphy or something like that.
Yeah, I can't really remember.
I think that's his name from SI, I believe. But he broke the story, and I know Ohio State fans hate him now, but he's with the Zone, 105.7 The Zone. And he broke the story, and he published some text messages that I guess Zach texted his wife, or she was texting him.
Yeah, he was apparently part of this group text or whatever.
And, just some of the things that it says that he, did to her and he agreed to it or whatever. Man, come on, man. I mean, how hard? I mean,
it's not hard to pick up on what's going on.
Right.
Like, especially like you said last night, all of these women, all of these wives get together and they hang out together and shit. It's like, I'm sorry, but once pillow talk starts happening, like I don't see there being a possibility that he didn't know what was going on, at least in some like way. Right.
And, and I guess where this come all about was Urban Meyer knew of it back at the Big Ten Media Days here a week or so ago. And then evidently this coach's ex-wife texted, I guess, other coaches' wives or whatever, just to let them know what was going on. They've had him, she had to get a restraining order against this guy. So you tell me, how do you keep a guy around after once? You bring a guy with you from Florida, and that's not really saying. I mean, hell, look at Florida now. Florida's still.
Yeah,
they don't know they're going to be able to field a team come this year because they're already starting back in the same situation. Okay, so you bring a guy with you from Florida, who's already got a pass with it. Get him here. Meyer went to Ohio State in 2012. So in 2015, you have another incident. Man, that's a red flag right there. You got to roll. Got to go.
Yeah, you got to go. And this is the thing that not a lot of, and I feel bad, and you won't hear me say this a lot as an Alabama fan, but I feel bad for the Ohio State fans.
Why?
Like I said last night, just because I'm a sports fan. And I understand that there are people that are passionate about their team, and this is not a good look for the city or for the state. It's just not. I just feel bad, especially that they had like a pretty good season a few years ago, and they ended up getting a ring or winning a championship or whatever, and now this kind of thing happens. I mean, it's not good for the sport. Ohio State being competitive and being there is part of the game, and I'm sure they'll be fine, if they get somebody decent, obviously not Nick Saban, as your article may have stated. It's not happening, folks. He ain't going nowhere but Tuscaloosa.
Well, here's what you got to look at. And, just driving around while I'm working and what have you, listening to some, Sports Ready, listening to I think yesterday it was on the Jim Rome show. Just listening to him and some of the fans calling in. There was a guy that called in, big Ohio State fan,
Yeah.
He said that if this is true, now this is coming from an Ohio State fan, if this is true, He says, there is no place in Columbus, or no place, period, in college football for this type of stuff, to try to cover it up and
Not at all.
not tell the truth. And if this is the case, he says, you got to get Urban Meyer out there, because you know what's going to happen say they fire him tonight. By the time they wake up in the morning, I mean, there's going to be people knocking at the door to take that job.
Oh, 100%. It's a prestigious a job. I mean, it's if you think about, and now here's a theory that I just thought of. Do places that wouldn't necessarily be a high profile program become that just when a high profile coach goes there, like out of just for any reason at all? Like, was Ohio State that strong until Urban Meyer went there after winning that championship in Florida?
Well, like,
I don't remember before that, really.
Well, like, you're right. But, man, Bowling Green, that's where he came from. He came from Bowling Green. And, I was before we went on and what have you. I pulled up his record just to check it out. And I think his worst, I believe his worst year ever coaching. He's been coaching since 2001. Started out at Bowling Green. Then he went to Utah. Hell, 2004 in Utah, he undefeated, 12-0. Florida, his worst year ever coaching football as a head coach was in 2010. And that's when he said he had to step away from college football because of medical, personal reasons. Then what happens? Year later,
Roll Tide.
OSU rolls open, and he takes the job in 2012 at Ohio State. But so you ask yourself this, just like you asked me, you said, is he really a good coach?
Yeah.
But is he?
Easy. That's what I'm saying. I mean, he had Tim Tebow in Florida, who was a monster athlete.
He had to do a quarterback with Chris Leak, yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Percy Harvin.
And,
Right.
yeah, dude, those Gators were monstrous. You got probably 60% of that team starting in the NFL right now.
And who else was down there with him? I mean, you had Aaron Hernandez.
Yeah.
Rest in peace.
R.I.P.
Yeah.
I mean, Cam was there,
Yeah,
technically.
But see, all right, so you get on the Cam Newton thing, okay? Let me tell you what. Trust me, people are going to make mistakes, man, okay?
Yeah.
Being a college athlete, a star college athlete, and by the way, I'm no Cam Newton fan just because he dominated us in the SEC championship.
Yeah, same here.
I can't really handle him too well. But here's the thing about Cam Newton. In the pros, he has completely turned it around as much as he does for kids,
I'll say
special needs and
that's
stuff.
accurate.
But
yeah.
back in college, man, I'm a firm believer if you're getting your school paid for, okay?
Yeah.
You're paying nothing for school. You're probably getting paid to go to that school, probably.
Oh, yeah, 100%.
So when he got in that trouble with Florida, he got in trouble with, what was it, breaking and stealing computers or something.
Yeah.
All right. Gets kicked out of Florida. All right. So he goes to, a Division III or JUCO or something for a year. Comes back, goes to Auburn. I mean, I guess he kept himself clean out of trouble at wherever he went to school before he went to Auburn, came to Auburn and what have you. That's a prime example right there. I guess he straightened his act up.
Yeah,
right?
I don't mind that at all. I will say that Cam Newton has 100% turned his life around and I think that wreck had a lot to do with it.
Right. Well,
and maybe before that, but I think that was definitely a turning point in him trying to be a better person, because it's really hard to wash off going to Auburn.
Right.
In my book.
Yeah. Hey, I mean,
he's done all right, and if I'm not mistaken, I think he's probably has the best stats of a rookie quarterback ever in the league. If I'm not mistaken, I think he had the best rookie year of anybody.
Right. Don't get me wrong, man. He came out flying out the gates and everything. I just don't. I don't. How many chances do you give somebody? How many chances do you give a coach? I know
Exactly. Getting back to the point, yeah.
Right. How many chances do you give a person before you got to tell them? All right. So in my job industry, all right, I do pest control. All right. I go into someone's house.
Yeah.
Someone calls up that afternoon. They're not home or whatever. I go into an apartment. Somebody says, well, the pest control guy was in here and he's the only one that's been in here all day. I'm missing $500. Okay. Well, they do some investigation. They can't prove it. All right. 3 weeks down the road, go back into another apartment or whatever. They call up. I'm missing $200, whatever, missing something. How long before do you
Yeah,
think before
exactly.
your job's going to see like you got to roll, man?
That's a good analogy. I mean,
that's what I look at on the situation. I mean, and with Urban Meyer, all he had to do was stand up and tell the truth.
It just doesn't look good.
Does not.
And especially, and not to bring it up, but in this day and age, not like it wasn't important before this Me Too thing came about.
Right.
But especially now in this day and age, like this is an important situation. Like what's the word I'm looking for? This whole situation is very important to the nation right now,
Right.
and to be able to hide some sort of allegations that his coach has been doing this same thing over and over and over, that looks bad for Urban Meyer. He can no longer be a coach. It just and nowhere else is going to take him. Once he's gone.
Well, see, I think the same thing too. But I'll tell you this much: Meyer gets fired from Ohio State, I do believe he will not coach anywhere else. I think he'll be a broadcaster of some sort. Because if I'm not mistaken, that year that he took off in between the Florida Ohio State gig, I think he did some televised games or whatever.
Yeah.
Up in the booth or whatever. But dude, you can put him out on the curb tomorrow morning. You know what? Ohio State's ranked third. If I'm
Where
not
will it?
mistaken,
Where do you
in the
think
preseason.
they'll drop if he gets fired?
Will they?
Well, it depends. I mean, you got to think a lot of these kids, and hear me out on this. A lot of these kids were recruited by Urban Meyer.
Right.
So even if these kids are, say, a 5-star athlete, then would that not, knowing that they got recruited by a guy who's no longer going to be coaching them and who was apparently involved in all this other shit, and not to bring this into it at all, but something I just thought of, a lot of these kids, a lot of these football players come from like a single parent home with just their mother.
Right.
So what's that going to say to these kids as that, okay, so this guy recruited me and he's fine with a guy beating on his wife? Like, I ain't going to have, I'm not, that'll fuck a kid mentally or whatever. That's just
Absolutely.
that's not the kind of thing that's not the kind of situation you want to play under. So
Right.
will they still be a number 3 team? Even if it's the same 5-star athletes?
I mean, this is what you got to look at. I don't think it's much of the coach that. And don't get me wrong, coaches do have an impact on recruiting.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
But I think it's more of the school that draws the kids in. I mean, here's the thing. I'm a diehard South Carolina fan. You know.
Man, I know.
I mean, so this is what you got to look at. Take, for instance, Jadeveon Clowney.
Yep.
Okay. Lives in Rock Hill.
Yep.
Or he grew up in Rock Hill, played college football in Rock Hill. High school football in Rock Hill.
May as well be college football.
Right.
It's Dorman, right?
Right. I'm not sure where he came out. I don't think it was Dorman because Dorman's more upstate towards like Spartanburg. And whatnot.
Yeah, somewhere like that.
So I will tell you this. Jadeveon Clowney chose South Carolina. All right. You got to ask yourself, why did he pick South Carolina?
Oh, yeah.
I mean, because, he probably could have went anywhere. But we all know he wasn't staying for a full, 4 years in college.
Not at all.
He was going 3 years. So, you ask yourself, does the coach really have that much impact on recruiting, or is it the school?
Yeah, I see your point there 100%. And then that's true. But I still, something in me wants to say that these kids feel bad about the situation at hand, and I think that's going to mess them up mentally a little bit, and I don't think that they're going to be able to play up to to their full potential. Like, for instance, I'll try to bring this around. I usually do a little musician analogy every now and again to describe to other people what it's like to be a musician. Tomorrow night, I'm going to play with a drummer I've never played with before. And he's a great drummer, and I know he's good. I know he can handle what we've got. But just because we're going in this thing blind, this is a 50-50 thing. We could bomb or we could kill it. And I believe that these kids are in the same situation right now. Like, they're all very good at what they're doing, but they're going to be coming in playing with a coach that has probably never coached them before unless they promote from within. And but who would that be? Because does this not taint the entire coaching staff?
Well, that's what people are saying. I mean, if you recall, what was it last year?
You bring Kirk Herbstreit back.
Hey, there you go.
Aaron Boone did it. Stepped out of the booth to coach.
There you go. Hey, what I mean? That could be a thing. I mean, but that would suck for college game day. I mean,
Yeah.
But here's the thing you think about. Look at Tennessee Volunteers. All right, back in Knoxville.
Yeah.
Whenever. All right, you take a look at Lane Kiffin. Lane Kiffin specifically said, "I got my dream job." Okay, I got my dream job in UT, or I believe, and he was at UT, left in the middle of the night to go where?
USC.
USC. Okay, goes to USC.
And Sarkisian was his OC there, right?
Right, and then Lane Kiffin gets fired.
Yeah.
Because I mean, I don't think he can beat himself out of a wet paper bag. I mean, so now, then USC takes, what's his name, promotes him to head coach, and then next thing you know, he's gone. For what? I mean, because he's been drinking, he can't stay off the bottle. All right, so you take a look at Lane
Banging
Kiffin.
sorority girls.
All right, Lane Kiffin rolls out, and Tennessee names coach. Then last year, they got rid of whoever was before this guy, Pruitt, coming in. But anyways, Greg Schiano. They literally had a deal legitly in place. Greg Schiano was going to sign the contract, and they had a fan uproar. They did not want Greg Schiano, the head coach. So what they do? They backed away from Greg Schiano. Where does Greg Schiano go? Ohio State. Okay, you got a guy that has coached. If I'm not mistaken, Greg Schiano coached Ray Rice at Rutgers.
You lost me on those.
Well,
names.
no, I'm just saying Greg Schiano. He's the head coach at powerhouse schools.
Yeah.
And here he is. I believe he's running the offense defense. As the head offensive or defensive coordinator. And here you are. They promote for intern Ryan Day. I mean,
and this guy's on staff who's coached all these other.
Yeah, I mean, you got Greg Schiano that's been there. Not saying that Greg Schiano would make a great head coach at a Big Ten powerhouse. I mean, only time will tell, man. I mean,
yeah, and I'm still, and I will say that yes, they are a Big Ten powerhouse as long as everything doesn't change. But I'm not sure that I want to label them as that.
Label Ohio State as a Big Ten powerhouse?
Yeah, not anymore. Well, here's the thing. They got lucky as shit that one year, man. What have they done other than that? You even said it last night. They can't beat Michigan with or without Jim Harbaugh.
No, they can't beat Michigan, dude. Harbaugh can't beat Ohio State. That's a problem. All right, so all right, let me tell you what. When Jim Harbaugh woke up the other morning and all this was going on, he probably got the biggest boner there ever was, dude.
Probably, yeah, 100%.
Because he's seeing his crosstown rival that he hasn't beat since he's been there. Let me tell you, I was talking to a Michigan guy. Who's the manager
Okay,
up at
so
Douglas.
for some reason I was thinking that Ohio State's beat Michigan all these years.
Yeah, they have. But here's the thing.
Or Michigan's beat Ohio State all
No,
years. My
they
bad.
haven't
I said
touched
that
them.
backwards.
So I do. When I was doing service at Dagwoods up in Myrtle Beach, I was talking to one of the head manager there, and diehard Michigan fan. And I was like, man, y'all got a big season coming up for Harbaugh. He's like, yeah. He goes, I thought it was done last year. He says, man,
I said the same thing.
He says, as a Michigan fan, he goes, I can care less if we lose every game of the season except for the last game. Got to beat them, man. You got to beat your rival.
I think we could all say that. I mean, you don't want to lose every game of the season, but if you lose to Clemson or if we lose to Auburn, like that just sucks all off season.
Oh, it does. It leaves a taste in your mouth.
Like it sucks the whole off season.
But I will make one quick point real quick. I mean, South Carolina does own the Big Ten. I mean,
I thought you were going to make another.
no, South Carolina, they own the Big Ten.
Okay.
I mean,
You know what's funny is that South Carolina is the only SEC team that I fear playing because of that one game.
Let me tell you what.
Because just at any given time, this is why sports are great. Because at any given time, any random David of South Carolina can just knock out a Goliath. And it hurts. And I hate it.
Well, take a look at Appalachian State a couple years ago with Michigan.
Oh, yeah. I
I
mean,
mean, and then you had some Division II or some low ball Division I school take it to Auburn last year or something, or the year before, beat them first.
oh,
game.
yeah. Or Syracuse.
Absolutely, on a Friday night. I mean, who would have thought that? Who legitimately would have thought Syracuse? That's just like Pitt going into Death Valley and beating Clemson. Who would have thought Pitt would have went into Clemson and beat Clemson with Deshaun Watson? I mean, who?
Stud team.
Never happened.
I mean, come on. That was the worst day.
There's Adam back
As a
there
South
laughing.
Carolina fan. As a South Carolina fan, that was the worst day to see the Pitt Panthers beat the Clemson Tigers for other reasons. But here's just getting back to the subject of the Ohio State thing is I hope they get it right. Man,
I do too, like just for the sake of the game.
right. I mean, because Urban Meyer, whether we could sit here and we can go back and forth on whether he's a great coach or not, man, he knows the game of football. I mean,
Yes, he does.
I mean, you can see with Utah, and I mean, people say, well, Utah wasn't in no division when he took them 12-0 or whatever.
Yeah.
But just take a look at how many kids he puts in the NFL. I mean,
That's true.
you just see
Some of them too soon.
right. So you're right. I mean, you get some of them. Some of them want to jump out, and he keeps them back. But I mean, I will say this is whether he gets fired or whether he stays, they'll be in the top five. I mean, they're not going to go nowhere because those kids can't go nowhere. I mean,
Yeah.
they can say, "Well, I'm leaving because this guy." I don't know if the NCAA does a rule that if a coach gets fired that recruited you, if you can leave and immediately enroll somewhere else and play. I'm not sure if you have to sit out a year.
I'm sure that there's some sort of a clause in for that.
I do know they did it for Penn State whenever this whole scheme. Let me tell you what, the Penn State thing compares nothing to this.
Yes,
but
not
still,
at all.
I think they allowed those kids from Penn State to go elsewhere.
Or this
if
one
they chose
compares
to.
nothing to the Penn State thing.
Right, you're right.
Yeah.
You're right. I mean, it's one of those things that, like I said, I do not condone domestic violence in any ways.
Yeah, exactly.
But if Urban Meyer, man, if his nose is not clean, you got to let him go. Let him roll.
He's got to go. Yeah, but that's like we were saying last night. It's just, and continuously today, it's for the sake of the game. I feel bad for the fans in Ohio State, even though most of them are garbage. You heard me. But see, I'm gonna have so many people text me after this one. Sorry for hurting your feelings, but a lot of Ohio State fans are just not my people. As you can probably tell, being an Alabama fan, I did call that loss, by the way. As soon as I saw Cardale Jones play one game, I was like, this kid's a stud. You guys are going to – I told Janessa, I was like, you guys are going to win out. We'll have to play you to get to the dance, and you'll probably win. And that's exactly what happened. And I still got a bad taste in my mouth from that. But
isn't it great for college football to see?
it's great for college football. And I've said on this podcast before that Clemson needed to win that second game. And just for the sake of the game, you'd never hear any other fan say that probably. But for the sake of the game, the Giant needs to be beaten every now and again just to – I don't know. I love Alabama and I love – the Braves, but I love football and baseball more than I love those teams.
Right.
And I don't know, man. I might love Alabama more than football, but still, like I don't know. It's necessary for the sake of the game, and I'm big enough to say that.
It's kind of like the college basketball. Of course, I'll pull for South Carolina, but when it comes to, having a team that can actually do something, yes, I know they made it to the Final Four, Elite Eight, whatever it was,
Yeah.
2 years ago or whatever. That was, we had some good ballers.
Darius Thornwell.
Right, but here's and we beat Duke out of it. But the thing about it is, so many people hate Duke or hate North Carolina or hate UCLA because they're usually always the ones to win it. They like to see different teams win it. And let me tell you what, I mean, I'm not the biggest Alabama fan, and the reason is because they win all the time, man. And I guess that's why I like South Carolina so much because they don't win all the time.
Well, for the same reason that that everybody hates the Patriots.
Yeah.
For the same reason everybody hates the Patriots because they win all the time. And I enjoyed being a Braves fan for all those years because it taught me to be humble
Right.
in my sports fanship, if you will. And because I don't get a lot of that from Alabama. Like, we just win. And honestly, we have most of my adult life. Like, that's what we do. And it, honestly, I said on the mic the other day at a gig that most college teams are pissed off when they lose a game. Alabama's pissed off when they lose the championship.
Right.
Like, that's, it's like if we don't make it to the championship, that it doesn't matter.
Right.
And we don't care. But because that's our end goal. Like, it doesn't matter. We could have a season that 99% of college football would kill for.
Right.
And we would be pissed off because we didn't win the championship.
Well, yeah, you're absolutely right. I mean, you take a look at South Carolina, people are like, I'll run to people like, well, what do you think South Carolina is going to do this year? And I was like, well, I mean, I'm going to tell you right now, if South Carolina doesn't have a successful season, they'll never have a successful season. I mean, sitting right now, I would say we probably have one of the top receiving duos in the SEC.
Right now.
Right now. Coming back from experience. Absolutely. I mean, you have Edwards, and then you have Samuels. Then you got both the Smiths coming in. I mean, we're going to hurt probably on the tight end part of the ball. But, I mean, so you take – and he asked me, he's like, well, what do you consider a successful football season? He's like, an SEC championship? I'm like, well –
7 wins.
Well, that's going a little far with an SEC championship. To me, I feel like finishing – I mean, I would love to win the SEC East. Go play for another SEC championship. Of course, would probably end up playing Alabama or Auburn or somebody. But,
Alabama.
think so?
She anybody but Auburn, man.
Okay, but I'm just saying that's what I think.
I know.
But
I don't know. I don't know about us this year.
We exceeded expectations last year.
Yep.
People had us at 6 wins last year. We ended up with 9.
Muschamp's doing a good job.
Beating Michigan. So I mean, a successful season for us Gamecocks. I would have to say to win the East and compete for a SEC championship.
All right. So would you trade all of what you just said to be able to go on like another 5-year beating Clemson run again?
Absolutely. Let me tell you, absolutely. I would love nothing more than to beat Clemson 5 years again. But it's going to be tough. I mean, because Dabo, he has done his work there. I mean, they have recruited well. It's going to be tough. But I felt like this past year we were going to be able to compete with them. But we didn't. We got blown out the water coming out the gates.
I told you in the last podcast, it hurt all of Alabama's world. All Alabama fanship world was so disappointed in South Carolina for losing that game.
But
we had so much build up on that.
I would definitely trade an SEC East title just to beat Clemson 5 years again. 5 years in a row, yeah.
You never know, man. It could happen. And I've got this theory that not a lot of people are a fan of, that maybe Dabo just got super lucky by having people like Deshaun Watson and Mike Williams and
they're going to be tough this year. They got their
their front four is coming back on both sides of the ball, I think.
Yeah, I mean it's only time will tell. Hey, we only got 3 more Saturdays left.
Oh shit, we got to get fantasy football rolling this year too, huh? Well, there you go. You gonna play fantasy football this year?
Yeah, man, it's always fun playing fantasy football. I like donating money.
Nice.
I like donating money. I always donate money at everything I do.
Well, we're gonna get the Tito's League rolling here pretty soon. But anywho, that's probably a good enough amount of content. I will say, as far as the going back to Urban Meyer, apparently as of about 20 hours ago, he claims, quote unquote, that he took appropriate action regarding the domestic abuse claims that led to his firing the team's assistant coach last week. So,
But
if you
didn't
knew,
tell the truth at the media day.
yeah, but exactly. So, it's still in the air as to whether or not he's going to have a job, which is all directions are pointing at no on the answer to that question. So, we'll see where we go. But anywho, that's all we got for you today, ladies and gentlemen. We got football coming at you. The Braves are tied a half a game back atop the NL East
With the Phillies.
with the Filthies, man. Down with the Mutts. The Braves have won 5 in a row. Hopefully we keep that streak going tonight. That's all we got for you today. Jason, any final thoughts?
Not really, but we'll just go with my prediction on Urban Meyer will be out of the office by Monday afternoon.
I believe the same thing. Adam, Cruz, any final thoughts?
Agreed.
All right, guys, we're getting out of here. Enjoy your weekends. Peace, bitches. All right. Bye, world.